There are a lot of things I didn't know when I became a teacher. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Zach. I'm a teacher based in Los Angeles. On this channel, we explore the strategies and tools that help educators live happier, healthier lives. So if you're interested in that, consider subscribing. Everybody knows that educators are underpaid. Now, I do have hope for the field because I think that due to the pandemic, I've been getting significant salary raises and bonuses over the past few years. And I think that this is going to continue in the field of education because there is a huge demand for teachers and a lower supply as more and more people leave the profession. Pay is a huge part of education and a part of any job in general. I'm going to talk more about that when we get to tip 9, so stay tuned for that. The second thing you need to know about going into teaching is work hours. Typically, we're not just working a 9-to-5 job, you're working a lot of hours outside of that as well to grade, to lesson plan, to prepare everything for the next day, because the work is not only done in the classroom, it's also done before and after each lesson. The third thing I wish I knew is that lesson planning is extremely important. This is what drives your lesson forward. It actually reduces a lot of behavior issues, which I'll talk about in tip 4. Now, one of the benefits of this is that, yes, your first year of teaching is going to be really brutal and you're going to be lesson planning a lot of time outside of class. But if you do a good job with your lesson planning, by the time you get into your second year and beyond, your life is going to be so much easier. The fourth thing I wish I knew was that behavior management is a huge part of teaching. It's not just about getting the lessons and teaching them well. It's also about making sure that kids are engaged in behaving the way that they should. I used to tutor in college and that was so much easier because all I had to worry about was the content. If I knew the chemistry that I was going to teach other college students that day, I knew that they would focus. However, when you're teaching 12-year-olds, that's not always the case. You can have a perfectly planned lesson, but if the kids aren't focusing, they're going to pull each other off of task and then nobody's going to learn. Behavior management really comes down to two things. One is having good lesson plans like I talked about in tip 3, and 2 is having really good relationships with students. If your students know and trust you, then they will be willing to listen to you. I've actually made a full video about relationship building with students, which I'll link at the end of this one if you're interested. Tip number 5, ask for help. There are so many educators that have the system down. They know how to engage students. They know how to craft good lesson plans. Ask them for help. More often than not, they're going to be willing to help you. This can help you grow as an educator exponentially because you can build on all the experience and background knowledge from somebody else who's already figured out the whole thing. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Tip number 6, and I feel silly saying this, but it's real. You need to have a P schedule. I teach for 2-hour blocks, and during that time, there is no other adult in the room. That means that I cannot leave 30 children by themselves unattended. If I do need to go to the restroom really bad during a class period, I have to ask another teacher or an administrator to come cover me so I can go. Usually we try not to do that, so that means you need to structure your pee breaks where you go every 2 hours during their nutrition break or lunch and so on. Tip number 7, it's really important to learn how to take care of yourself. A quote that I really love is, "You can't pour from a cup that's empty." What's made teaching a lot more sustainable for me is to take care of myself first, and then that allows me to come to school and take care of my students. I do this through having a morning routine where I create a lot of space and time for myself to reflect, to read, to meditate, to work out, and that helps me get my body and mind right so that once I get to school, I'm able to fully be there for my students. Tip number 8, education is a huge field. If you love working with kids, you don't need to be limited to only being a teacher in the classroom for the rest of your life. I thought that going into education, that's what I had to do, but now that I've spent 3 years in the profession, I've realized that there are so many different avenues you can do. You can become a dean of student culture where you work to build the culture of a school, you host the assemblies, you get the kids hyped, you talk to their parents, you build relationships with them. You can also become an assistant principal, you can do more of the administrative side. You can even become like a coach where you coach other teachers on how to be good teachers and you spend very little time in the classroom, and the list goes on. There's so many careers in education as a field. Tip number 9, there's no financial budgeting and support in education. In a lot of other careers, I know friends who have 401ks, they have these big retirement savings accounts that are built up for them, especially if you're in business or finances. I feel like those people really make sure that you're taken care of financially. I could be wrong, but that's just my impression. In education, that is not the case. Yes, we do have a retirement savings account, but it's not very good. It's not really going to set you up for life. And I think that it's really important as educators that we educate ourselves on financial literacy so that we can make sure that we're taken care of later on down the line. We're putting in all this work into our professions. We want to make sure our money is right. So I've actually done a lot of learning and teaching myself about finances. I've read a lot of books, I've watched YouTube videos, I've taken courses on financial health. If you're interested in learning more about finances as an educator, that includes budgeting, investing, and setting yourself up for success later on in life, check out this playlist right here, which I'll link below. It's just 3 videos. It's really quick if you want to learn more about that. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.